Let me tell you a story about a very special student. This student's name was Chris. Chris was an odd student. He's 22 years old on paper, but acts like an absolute child. He went to school at Applewood Heights Secondary School. He started his day by staring blankly at the school doors, as if their cold, blue metal frame brought him some type of comfort. Once through the front doors, he prepares to greet every teacher that passes by, who he knows on a first-name basis, considering Chris has been in the school for 8 years. Now let me give you some background on Chris. Although Chris is very bright in some areas, he is extremely uncoordinated and by no means athletic. However, Chris is extremely talented when it comes to music. His favorite instrument is his ukulele that he carries around everywhere. In class, Chris never writes with a pencil or pen, only a typewriter. Maybe if he is feeling creative, he will write in crayons. Whenever Chris gets frustrated, he plays his ukulele, no matter where, when, or how much of a disturbance it causes. And yes, his teacher hates him when he plays. Chris found amusement in the annoyance of the teachers. It was his way of getting back at the math teacher for teaching a subject he hated. Chris always liked to work during lunch, but his peace and quiet usually got disrupted by the principal, who walks over with university pamphlets and stares down at Chris intently to make sure he looks at the pamphlets. Chris usually ignores him, but then Mr. Smith placed the pamphlets strategically so that Chris is obliged to look at them. As always, Chris just picks them up and sets them aside. As I was passing by, I noticed Chris seemed deep in thought and scared. It was as if he was standing on thin ice, and the next breath he took would send him through the ice into the cold waters below. I couldn't figure out what was bothering him. Well, not until later. I can't tell you how Chris is doing in the real world, but I can tell you this. I was pleasantly surprised at the end of the day when I saw Chris in my office.